I'm Mari Fong, producer and host for Check Your Head, Mental Health for Musicians podcast. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you like us, please follow us on social media at Check Your Head Podcast. And visit us at checkyourheadpodcast.com, where you'll find over 100 mental health resources that will assist you in your mental health recovery. You rock, and we love you.
I watched Creme Brulee and I felt like it was a celebration of life. I felt like it represented a lot about how your life might be today, with all the dancing, the lyrics. You have some words in Spanish. Uh, is that correct for me to say? I mean, how do you feel that video represents who you are today?
Yeah, I'm glad it came across as a celebratory video because I feel like it's definitely that. I'm in a time where I'm just having fun and enjoying life. I feel like I took life seriously for the longest time, even when I was younger. So to be able to just say, what if I can loosen up and just have fun and be playful, be flirty, be be a little sexy. It's been fun to um, play around in that field of being an artist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I wanted to kind of go back to before you came out. You were, strong. You were a very faithful Mormon. Um, and you even went out for 2 years, like as a missionary, right, for your church. And there was a time where you were going to get engaged to a woman, and you said that you had like an anxiety attack, which sounds very normal for doing something like that. Would you say that was like an anxiety attack, or do you think that was a panic attack? What do you think that was?
Um, I guess I'm not sure exactly, but I do feel like it was an episode of like paralyzing anxiety because yeah, it was. Um, yeah, I'm writing a book currently, and I kind of again go into detail about that story because it was for me a very revealing story of like, okay, I think there's a little more involved in this situation than what I'm paying attention, like giving myself a like being able to properly focus on what's going on. And I I think there's like a bit of like dissociating, like when something's a bit traumatic for you or overwhelming, you just dissociate, you disconnect. And I think I was noticing my brain doing that, where I was telling it to do something, but it wouldn't respond. Um, so it's like you tell your brain like go here, walk this way, or just get up, and it's like how your brain would normally think of doing all this stuff. Like you just, okay, I'm gonna pick up my phone, okay, but your body's not responding normally to how it normally would to pick up the phone. You're just thinking it, and it's like, why is my body not moving to respond? So that was, yeah, it was odd, but interesting indeed.
Well, that must have been a scary experience. It almost sounds like there's something in your brain that said this, you're telling it to do one thing, but the behavior is not coming through. Almost like maybe your subconscious felt like it wasn't being truthful or honest. Do you remember like some of the thoughts that were going through your head as you were going through that experience? And did you ever get the words out? You know, like, will you marry me? Or, the words of, you know, getting engaged.
Oh, got you. Um, so when that happened to me, I mean, I guess there are a couple of times where things had happened where because I've had many anxiety attacks throughout my life, but I guess the one that I was referring to specifically was when I was already engaged. So it's I was trying to spend time with the person I thought I was going to marry, and it's my brain just started to dissociate, where it's like I could just tell it was trying to shut down to protect myself. And the way it was protecting myself was kind of like where like a deer, when it sees danger, it just sits still and it doesn't move, and it's like everything just shuts off so that I can sit still. And that's what it felt like my brain was doing, was like you see like the deer in headlights when something's coming and it sees it's something that could be dangerous and it just doesn't move. But like even when you need when the safer thing to do is to get out of danger's way or to keep going, your body doesn't respond, so you just stay there. And so that, but like in my head I'm like, well, this isn't a dangerous situation, so why am I reacting like this? It didn't make sense to me. But I think I realized also that I was trying to protect myself from the feelings that I had been burying down. Like the safe thing I thought was suppressing the feelings, and apparently it wasn't the best thing for me to be doing, even though I thought it was.
Well, you mentioned that you've had these anxiety or panic attacks throughout your life. And a lot of musicians seem to have panic attacks. Can you describe what that feeling is like for you? You said you felt disassociated, which I know some people have described as almost like an out-of-body experience, just feeling disconnected from yourself. I mean, how would you explain a panic attack from your point of view?
Panic attack? Well, sometimes I think I'm kind of curious what, like, I'm trying to remind myself the difference between panic attack versus an anxiety attack versus anxiety attack.
It really doesn't matter. I mean, you can just explain like what you go through when that happens.
Gotcha. Duration. Okay, it says panic attacks are often more intense with severe physical symptoms, whereas anxiety attacks tend to have more psychological symptoms. But yeah, so I guess more often than not, it would be anxiety attacks that I perhaps experience. And it's kind of hard to calm down. It's hard to look at things, a situation rationally. And sometimes anxiety attack, it's like, okay, it's letting myself know that something's going on that's not okay and it's dangerous. And sometimes it's like, I think my body's overreacting right now because it's not as dangerous as I think it is, but I don't know how to stop what's going on. Like my body's still going, even though I know that I'm okay. I can't shut my body and mind off, and then it eventually takes over, and you are trying to find the danger. It's like, okay, something's dangerous. My body's telling me there's something. And even when there isn't something dangerous, it like will create a situation too. It'll create something to make sense. It's like, I'm feeling this way because something is dangerous. So you just start creating a scenario that may not be realistic necessarily, but it is just the way that you kind of cope with what's going on. To explain why you're feeling so panicked and anxious and like, I've got to get out of here. Oh my gosh, I need to just hide. I need to get away. I need to get away from the situation or these people, so and it can take a moment for it to finally calm down. But while it's happening, it's pretty difficult to look at things in a practical, calm manner. And to see things for what they are, because all you can think of is everything's horrible, everything's terrible, and I really need to escape this situation.
Yeah. I think that's the thing with anxiety, is that it makes our fears just become monsters, and it takes it to the extreme. And logically, we might know that that is an extreme, but it feels so real, right? It feels so scary, and it feels like you just got to get out. So when that happens, what do you do to calm yourself down? Or, I've had musicians say that they have a panic attack on stage. I mean, it could happen at any time. And what have you learned to do to get through it? What helps you?
Oh, gosh, yeah. Unfortunately, when you're in public, it's kind of hard to. Sometimes I just need to take a moment. I'm like, I need to take a moment and just be alone, where it's quiet, somewhere that's less stimulation. That usually helps me calm down, because then it's like there isn't so much being thrown at me, so I can process. And I'll also a lot of times rub my chest and like calm myself down, because that's quite soothing. I'll try to breathe, just like take deep breaths to slow my breath down, to keep myself from feeling like I need to be on the run. But when it's in the like public settings, for example, like something that makes me feel very anxious is doing like red carpets, where it's like a lot of cameras, a lot of lights, a lot of people shouting and noise, and a lot of people around you. And you feel like a lot of people are staring at you and maybe judging you, or just it feels like you're out of control of the situation. So many other people have control over the situation where you don't. I mean, I just took a moment. The last time we were on a carpet, I just turned around and I went to the end of the carpet and just like knelt down and just gave myself a moment, so that I felt like I was to myself and alone. Maybe there have been times when I was younger that like, if there's a show, I just will take a moment and walk off stage and just give myself a little moment to myself. I think that's important, just to give yourself a little moment, because sometimes you think, oh, I don't have a moment to myself ever, and I have to be on, I've got to be there for everybody. But it's like, you have to tell yourself, in order to be there for them, I've got to give myself a moment to refuel. It's like a little pit stop, when the race is going, when people are in the race cars and they're going around the track, sometimes they're in the middle of a race and it's like, well, I've got to keep going. But if they keep going, a wheel may fall off, or they run out of gas and they stop mid-track. So it's important to take a pit stop, even when you're in the middle of the race, and let yourself get refueled, rejuvenated, replace the wheels, so that you can keep going. And I think sometimes you have to give yourself a moment to realize, even as a performer, like, you need to give yourself a little moment to yourself. And it's not being selfish. It's not putting you behind. If anything, it's keeping you more on the long term. Like, it's giving you more better endurance, because you need to give yourself a break. You need you also have to learn how to say no. Because people always want more from you. They always demand, like, we want to see you more, we want more of you, and we want to see your face, we want to hear you singing, and you got to make more money. And then sometimes you're like, you know what good is the money if I'm not in a mental place? That's like, I'm going to end up spending it on medical issues and psychological needs. And I sometimes you have to just give yourself a break, even if you're mid-show. Like, say you'll be right back, they can just take a little pause. It's like using the bathroom. Like, if you have to really go, sometimes you just have to take a break and say, I'm so sorry, I've got to go take care of my needs. And sometimes that's a bathroom break. Sometimes that's a mental pause that you need to take.
Thank you for that. That's really good advice. I know you had the album Therapy Sessions in 2020, and you do go to therapy. I read that. Are those some things that you learned in therapy? I mean, it also sounds like things that you've developed on your own. I mean, what has been the benefit of therapy for you?
Therapy, yeah, I did make a whole album called Therapy Sessions, of music that I wrote while I was going to therapy. And the things that I've learned, it was like a time of self-introspection. It was a time where I was learning, okay, I know I behave this way and I know I think this way. Why? like, why am I behaving this way? Because sometimes you know you behave a certain way, but it's not always the most practical way to react or to behave in a situation. And it's like, maybe there's a better way of handling this, or maybe I can have more compassion for myself when this happens, because I don't know why I behave this way or I react this way. And if something sets me off or causes me to get anxious or to feel down on myself or to feel hopeless. So when you go and you're able to take time to look and have someone help you, it's like identify, like, okay, you're able to like identify, okay, I'm feeling this way. I feel down or I'm feeling depressed and hopeless. What are usually the feelings that come with that, or the thoughts? Or there's a pattern, like this happens each time this comes to my mind. And or like I'm anxious each time, like what they're able to help you see what, when it happens in your life, or what patterns happen, or like what may be going on in your body or in your head, so that you can be better. It's like it gives you better control, like you, by having a therapist who studied people's behavior, who also knows the science behind how the brain works, the hormones that are in your, that are released, that affect your mood and how you respond to things, adrenaline or dopamine, serotonin, like, or a cortisol, like when things are released in your body, and then you can regulate yourself or have outside help or even like medication to help regulate the things that happen in your body. Those are all things I learned in therapy that were really helpful. And I, having someone to like say, you know, like be, what are the things that happen in your body when you're going through an episode or an anxiety attack, or, and it's like you feel it in different parts of your body. You feel your heart racing, and so they kind of walk you through ways to calm yourself down, put yourself in a place where you have control, or better control over the situation and over yourself. So it feels really empowering because you learn techniques so that rather than your reaction having the final say of where you end up after an episode of whatever, you're able to kind of coast, like if the engine goes out, you're able to glide and land more safely and more smoothly. And yeah, that's how I would describe my experience with therapy.
Okay, I mean, it sounds like your therapy made you more aware of what was going on with you mentally, physically, and maybe a better understanding of why all of this is happening. And then the therapist giving you advice on how you can maybe change things for the better and handle all of this stuff that's going on with you. So that's great to hear that, you're being educated about yourself, and then you're getting professional tips on how to deal with things that are happening in your body and your mind that you may not understand.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing that I thought was really interesting is that you talked about a moment in your life when you almost felt this intuition that God was talking to you about being gay and queer and LGBTQ. And you said, I don't look at that as other people do in the community. You're asking me to change, but you don't need to change at all. And you took that as a message. Can you tell me more about that experience for you?
Yeah. When I was, before I came out as queer, I was praying and saying, God, if you're there, like, please change me. Like I had been doing that for many years, but I was just kind of getting to my last wit's end with it, with asking. And then like I finally received, like I just had this feeling speak back to me, which I took as God and had always taken as God, saying, you know, David, you need to stop asking me this, because you're asking me to change something that I don't, there's no reason to change. Like I was looking at myself as I'm broken, like I need to be fixed. And God's response, you know, what I believed as God was, well, yeah, like I guess what people would interpret as God and believe as God. It's like, because I think in my head, like what people think of as God is this like judgmental, that is anti LGBT people. And I've learned that that's not the case, but it's like, if people want to say, well, no, that's not what God is. God does not approve of you. Then it's like, okay, then, well, that's not what spoke to me. And they're like, oh, it's an angel of, well, Satan can appear as an angel of light sometimes and deceive you. I'm like, well, how interesting that was the most love I ever felt for myself, the most peace I felt, and gave me the will to keep living my life, and the most freeing experience, and like the greatest awakening I ever had for my life personally is, but it's very interesting that that's what God's told me too. It's like, well, I don't see you the same way you see yourself, and I don't see you and people like you the same way a lot of well-meaning religious people see you. And that's when I realized a lot of the things that I was trying to please were other people. And basically, from all these people claiming that they believed in God and spoke on behalf of God, they themselves were trying to play God, and they had become my God. I was trying to change for their approval, because God was already saying, he's like, you already have my approval, and I created you the way you are. Like, these people don't get that. You're asking me to change something over and over. You see, at this point, I'm not going to change it because there's no reason to. And it's time for you to understand that.